It's time to talk about our favorite new American-made bushcraft and survival knives.
Here we are again, talking about the Reiff F5 field knife, which we've opted to call the best American-made survival knife in existence, not so much because we believe it, but because we're desperate for attention. And we'll take the slobbering vitriol of YouTube commenters telling us we're wrong about something over the damning quiet of no one caring in the first place. Anyway, Reiff Knives sent us their two new models, the F5 field knife, a survival knife with a 5-inch blade, a flat grind, and G10 scales, and the S5 glider bushcraft, which is the same size but with a Scandi grind and Micarta scales. We used them as an excuse to take some of our favorite US-made knives hiking. No, that's Taiwanese, no, that's Ukraine, that's Swedish, that's Chinese, that's Australian, that's Swedish again, that's Italian. There we go. Of course, regular viewers should know by now that when we say favorite, we actually mean whatever happened to be within memory's reach as we were packing up, which is to say that this isn't actually any kind of thorough side-by-side testing of American-made survival knives, as it is a meandering slideshow of us jabbing random things in the woods, but I can at least promise that there will be fire and alcohol by the end of this. So the first day was a quick hike just to get a feel for the 5 series. We kind of knew what we were in for because we already own a few Reiff knives, but there is something about 5-inch blade designs that can get awkward on the belt. Possibly that's one of the reasons it took Reiff this long to come out with these knives. Fortunately, Reiff has always done really well with their Kydex sheaths. They sit on a pivoting clip, so it's easy to adjust into a more comfortable position for drawing, which we appreciate as somewhat height-challenged people. Even when we carry the F5 vertically, we can draw it horizontally and avoid any awkward arm pretzeling to get the knife out. We always expect the sheath to pivot on its own and put the handle into different positions over the course of a hike, but we haven't noticed any drift so far. As for the glider bushcraft, it comes in a leather sheath made in Texas by Badger Claw Outfitters, who seem to know what they're doing over there. The sheath has a good grip and the leather feels pretty high quality. The knife also rides pretty low but leaves about 1.5 inches of handle above the sheath to draw off of. The leather is still pretty new in this video, so drawing looks stickier than it'll be after a month or so of breaking in. Early impressions of the F5 blade were about what we expected. It's pretty good, it throws spark easily, it really likes to carve anything even a little softer than oak, and the steel is CPM 3V, which we could probably hammer through a steel pipe without chipping, not that we would. We did end up with a couple tiny chips in both knives by the end of this, and pretty sure we hit a few rocks during testing. The Scandi grind on the S5 glider, on the other hand, was a pretty dreamy wood carver. It was a little better than the field knife on just about everything we were doing. Of course, just about everything we were doing was wood related, so that's not really a surprise. I'd rather have a flat grind for cutting rope or skinning, but as long as I'm just splitting logs, making fire, and pretending I know how to carve, I'll take the glider. The only thing I don't really like them for is chopping. Even when the blade can handle the task, and both of these definitely can, the drop in material toward the pommel of the handle just sacrifices too much grip security when you're swinging. Both blades are made great by the handle though, which has always been the case for Reiff knives. We still haven't found anyone who grinds top-heavy contours quite like what these have. They feel optimized for cutting and carving because the shape gives you a lot of control close to the blade. It's kind of one of those things you have to feel to really understand, but the way that they're thick where the index and middle fingers grip and then taper into a well for the 4th finger and pinky gives the handle this sort of luxury truck feel that just makes it easier to cut everything. Our second day of testing took us up a mountain so we could see how the knives rode on the belt when we weren't on a nice trail, or any trail. And if the blades could handle whatever bullshit hardwood we could find along the way. Ben also said there would be drinks at the end of this, and I believed him. As for making camp, this is where we actually started to enjoy ourselves. Carving, cooking, and making fire where the Reiff knives really shine, and there's a lot to be said for finding comfort where you can when you're trying to cook dinner after hiking up a mountain at the edge of a storm. And the Reiff F5 handle was the small comfort that made everything easier to do over the period of time we had to do it. Somehow Ben was the only one left standing to drink anything by the end of this. I had to drop out early, but he ran off to a land of lemons and bourbon and bitters and cherries and charred sticks and sleeping dogs. I have to extrapolate from watching the footage, but from the look of things and from the slur in Ben's speech when he called me to tell me that the stars were blinking out the lyrics to Breakfast in America by Supertramp in Morse code, I think I can safely say that at least one of the Reiff knives we took up there can handle making several old fashions pretty well. If you're interested, here's the recipe that he didn't follow very well. What you see in this footage is what we call mountain measuring, and it's not an FDA-approved method of mixing drinks, but it gets the job done pretty thoroughly. Anyway, that's all we've got for now. If you had fun, be sure to subscribe, and there are some links in the description that go to other things we've made, like articles on survival knives and other stuff that was made in America, so feel free to poke around, and we'll see you next time.